Fair. Oh, there we go. Hey, what's up? It's me, Gazbot. I'm here with Mike Emirates, and this is our weekly comics check-in, the 168, although this time it's been closer to 2 weeks because I was away like a jerk, not sitting here like I should be. But you know who was sitting here, there, like they should be? This fella.
That's right. I was here, or was I? Actually, no, I was in a different room. But we both managed to convene, something like that.
Yeah.
We're here.
We're here. For those that don't know, this is a live check-in that Mike and I do usually once a week, and the idea is to talk about our personal projects, usually comic related, but sometimes prints, other things, videos come up, but not client work. The idea is to find time similar to the 100 Days of Making Comics, which we both have done multiple times, to just sort of make sure we're working on our own work no matter what else is going on, and to hold each other accountable and to catch up and do it live so that we're accountable and field questions from time to time. So the reason we didn't do it for 2 weeks is because I'm from the East Coast, originally New Jersey, and I went back for a family wedding and a bunch of stuff like that. So there was a week gap. That is my fault. But we are here now, and we did give ourselves goals. Mike hurt his hand last week, and I had, like I said, all these family obligations across the country. So we gave ourselves mild goals, less than we would normally give ourselves for a week, even though it was 2 weeks. And now we're going to see what those goals were and how well we did at accomplishing them. And I'm going to hand it off to you because I've been talking a lot.
All right. So I think we're supposed to do the intro, right?
Oh yeah, what for the show, right? What's the name?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we got a special treat for this one today.
I'm excited.
I'm not. But all right. So this one goes out to our pal Marshall Lee, also known as Complex
Donkey Jaw Production.
Donkey Jaw Projects. All right, here we go. So, got to do this. Okay, here we go.
Oh, wow.
All right. What up, y'all? So sorry we're late. We had some stuff on our plate, so we had to make you wait. But now we're back, and it's going to be great. What's that you say? It's the
168.
Yo, we're to your mother. Poop, poop. Scoop, scoop.
Whoop, whoop. Whoop. That is amazing. I want everyone to know at home I had no idea that was coming, and that enlivens my soul.
So there you go, Marsh. That was for you.
Well, that was certainly the best rap I've ever heard. All right. Well, following that up is going to be very difficult, but
the rest of the show's downhill from there. Sorry, everybody.
As I said, you had hurt your hand, well, now like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And so why don't you talk a little bit about how you're doing and how, if you were able to get your goals, what your goals were?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So my hand is doing a little better. Well, a lot better. When we were first doing the show the last time, I was just telling Gaz this a moment ago, so it's a little weird, but I couldn't even eat right. Like I couldn't hold a fork to like eat like a normal human being. So I was doing everything with my left hand, which is, it was insane. It was not very fun at all. Yeah, exactly.
They're not for using.
So it's better than that. I've actually gone back to being able to do normal stuff. I still can't open jars with my right hand, but you know, I'm managing. But as far as drawing, I've been trying. I have my little sketch, but they're all terrible because after like a couple minutes, it just starts really hurting again. So I'm just taking it easy still. I don't want to. I really want to be drawing, and it's frustrating as hell, but I need my hands. I need them for many more years to come. And so the fact that there's like a pain, doesn't feel like a strain or a cramp or the usual stuff. This is something else, and it's got me a little bit freaked out. So I'm taking it easy. Because of that, I didn't give myself any kind of artistic goals for the week. So, you know, that went well. I didn't do any art for the week. But okay, so I did do some stuff. What did I this is the first I've even looked at the goals that I was supposed to do. It said I was supposed to record the next reviews, maybe practice some watercolors, and maybe write for Space Cat. So I did a lot of this, but not exactly this. So, and I didn't record a bunch of the reviews, but I did a lot of research for the next reviews. And the reviews I'm talking about are my my print video on video series on comic book printers. That Print Ninja one is a freaking nightmare. I just finished that a couple minutes before the show, and I have been working on it. I don't know where my head was at, but like I had hours of footage and that was ridiculous. I'm not going to post a 3-hour video. So I spent a lot of time cutting that down. I also started looking into some of the other printers I was going to review because I do like a little bit of research before I do them. I don't dive in completely,
Right.
Ad lib. I actually do some research ahead of time. So I did a lot of that. I sent some emails out to other people who had contacted me. Like the CEO of Kraken Print actually contacted me when I was first starting these. So I sent an email to him. I still haven't heard back yet, but he actually offered to be on to do like an interview. So wait and hear back from him. I also have some people that reach out to me once in a while with like their printers, and they're like mom and pop printers, or like their neighbor or their friend does printing and stuff like that. So I shot some emails out to them. Again, haven't heard back from them either. I'm thinking about contacting the people that gave me their emails in the first place, though, to see if, like, hey, let them know. Maybe it's in their junk folder. As far as the watercolors, I thought about it a lot. I didn't do it at all. And as far as writing Space Cat, oftentimes I make plans or goals and then I need to sleep on them to really figure out if that's a good idea or not. And I haven't really talked about this much publicly, but for me, I really prefer to work on one thing at a time. And if I'm dividing my focus, it's like I fall apart. So I didn't work on Space Cat, but I worked on a lot more writing for Sisyphine Complex, actually. I've got essentially what I would consider like the actual issue 1. It's actually got me, I mean, I always knew that the one that I was working on now was sort of like I don't know, more like an ash can or like a 0 issue. It's really not like a taste of what the book's actually going to be like. It was a script that I wrote like maybe 5 years ago that I've enhanced recently, but are
you gonna because the impression I got, and maybe I was mistaken or maybe things have changed, was that you had the one you've been working on that you sort of have written and roughed out, that's I think about 8 pages, 10 pages, something like
16.
that. 16. Okay, I think it started less, but it's 16 pages. With the idea that you want to pitch it to Heavy Metal and or other anthologies, and then maybe you'll collect it. So I guess I had the impression that you would do a lot of episodic stories with this character in this universe, and then maybe they'd be collected into a book, but I didn't think you'd be putting out any regular like 22, 24 page comics. Was I mistaken, or?
No, I don't. Okay. That is definitely not the plan, to put them out in single issues. If this is released at all, it's going to be,
when this is released.
When? Yes. Well, I mean, in physical form, if it's released at all in physical form, I want it to be in a trade, because as single issues, there's not much to them. They kind of like the experience of them is sort of having the collection and being able to compare and contrast and stuff. So, but I'll be working on them like one issue at a time, essentially.
Okay.
But
so when you say this is the true first issue, what did you mean by that?
Right. So what I meant by that was I came up with this idea many years ago, and I actually sat down to write the first issue about 5 years ago, and I wasn't like a finished script. It was just like a beat outline, a bunch of concept art, and then it sat on my shelf for years. And when I decided that I was going to go forward with this recently, I pulled that rough outline out and I turned it into a script, and I changed a lot of things. I cut a lot of things, and I whipped it into shape. But that was before I did a lot of extra writing to kind of figure out what this really is. What am I trying to say with this? Where is this going, et cetera, which is all work that I did prior to this show starting. And since then, I've had a much more clear idea of what it is I'm trying to do with this. And so this script that I'm working on is sort of like, I'm working on it because it's done. I'm not working on it because I'm like, yes, this is the statement of what this is going to be. And, I'm working on it because I need to work on stuff and because it's a thing that I can dive into and I can finish. But this new script, I feel, is definitely more representative of what the rest of them are going to be like. So it's a little bit of an awkward situation, but I'm still going to move forward with the one that I've got. It's just, like I said, probably more of like a 0 issue or like a little taste, but not quite the full thing kind of situation.
Right.
But it is what it is, but I'm very happy with what I have now. I like it. There's a lot more like narration from the main character, which I didn't realize I wanted, but now that it's there, I like it. And I think it actually gives more insight into what's going on. And
do you think you might add some narration into the story that you have sort of done now?
Yeah. I thought about that. I thought about that. And that actually wouldn't be too big of a deal because that's not like I don't have to rewrite the whole script for that. That's adding some narration boxes here
I
and
would
there.
think the biggest problem, at least if it was me, would be finding space and the artwork to fit it.
Right. Which luckily, you know, none of it is actually 100% finished at all. So
Right.
I could still keep that in mind as I move forward. So
Cool.
yeah, we'll see. I'm excited about it. I definitely have some new energy, which I needed. It's not like I lost interest in the project. It's just life stuff happens, you know. And
well, also not being able to draw on it for weeks on end
yeah,
probably
that sucks.
hurts. Yeah,
that sucks.
I also, I mean, not that it wasn't good that you worked on this other story in the overall world, but I imagine had you been able to draw, you probably wouldn't have gotten so much done on that. You would have been focusing on getting the art.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. It was like sort of an epiphany type of thing. Like I wasn't even trying to write at the time. It just boom, something hit, and I had to go and start writing. Changed my day up a bit to accommodate it, but yeah, I don't think it would have happened. I think I would have been much more focused on just getting the other work done. As far as like other things happening and challenges and whatnot, it's the summer. It's a weird time. There's a lot going on right now. So we did have some other things to do. Mel's sister is going back to school for her doctorate, I guess, in kinesiology. She's going to become a doctor of moving things. And so we took her out to like a dinner and a show kind of thing on someday. I don't know. It was someday, which was fun, but that was the whole day. That was like, you know, one of those kind of things. Another one of our friends was in town and we visited them. We had a bunch of stuff to do over the weekend, just house stuff, catching up with things that we needed to do that we weren't able to do during the week. Tomorrow, one of my friends, one of my oldest friends, is actually in from California, so we're going to like a game night with some of our friends that we used to hang out with in like high school that I haven't seen in a very, very long time. So I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time it's like social engagement, you know. So it's like we've talked about this before. I got a thing to do, and until I do that thing, it's
there was somebody
to do everything else.
In the 100s Facebook group, somebody was talking. Oh my gosh, I forget her name. You'll know she's an artist from Spain who does this really interesting Teresa, thank you. And she does this really interesting style. It's sort of like simple stick figures, but it's very heavily shaded and it's kind of gothy. I mean, I don't know the story, but it, you know, at a glance, it reminds me of like Edward Gorey or something like that. But she is doing her second round of 100 Days right now, and she had put up a post in the group saying something like, "Oh boy, you know, I'm working on my book, and I feel like all I do all day is draw, and I don't really see my friends, and I don't go out, and I don't have a life, and I don't have a job. All I do is draw and work on my comic." And it's like, on the one hand, I get it that like, oh, that could be boring, but it's like, that's the best. Like, you're doing art right. You're doing it better than ever. Like if you want to do a comic and be successful and really like, unfortunately, everything she said is like, I should be doing that. I should hang out with my friends less. I should not be going out in the world. I should be just drawing. Now, obviously, it's a bit of an extreme, but I do often feel like, as like you're talking about, that the less successful your regular life is, the less happy and social you are, the more likely you're going to become a better artist and get more productive stuff work. And because I always talk about too, like I never drew more than I did like in high school. I wasn't good, but I drew constantly. Morning to night, I was talking to somebody I was drawing, I was in class I was drawing, I was on the bus I was drawing, because I hated my life and I had no friends. So, you know, it was just an escape. Now that I have a little bit of happiness and some things going on, it's a distraction.
Which is a good thing, but also
there's a balance to find somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, so you know, it is what it is, though. You know, and kind of I enjoy spending the time when I can, but I'm trying to get better at I'm trying to get better at appreciating it and being more present. Usually I'm like just constantly thinking about, well, when are we leaving and what do I need to do when we get back?
Maybe you could try to multitask and like socialize, but be like looking at their facial expressions. Like, can I use that in my story?
Just intensely staring at everybody.
And then the environments. What does the ceiling look like? Could I draw that? And just like scanning.
Well, I used to just bring a sketchbook everywhere. That was like my MO, no matter where I went. And I mean, I still do, but I would be actually able to like sit there and draw, and I still can. But there's also that other, I don't know, there's that other aspect of it too, where then suddenly you become like this center of attention, even though you don't
Yeah.
want to be. It's like, oh, what's he doing? Oh, well, he does this. Let's talk about him now. And it's
Right.
like, well,
Or
now I can't get anything done.
right. Or it's considered rude because they think you're
Or that too.
disconnecting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But so anyways, that's pretty much my week. It was kind of, I mean, I got a lot done, but I don't feel like I got anything done because it's not,
Right.
my
Not
main
art,
goals
quote
or
unquote.
anything. Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, as we said last week, with your hand, there's only so much you could do, and it's good because this is reiterating a lesson that I talk about. You talk. Everybody has to keep learning. Is like just keep moving forward, doing something. You can't
yeah.
draw, and a lot of people are like, "Well, I can't draw. I'm gonna sit around and play video games or whatever." And it's like,
Mhm.
well, you could still work on things. You can still get the writing done. And so, it's not what you wanted to get done, but you got more done than the nothing.
Yeah. Sure. We'll go with that.
You weren't destroying Fantasia, were you? No, you are not the nothing.
Right on. All right, I'll take it.
Yeah.
How about you? I would be surprised if you got anything done because you've been
Well,
gone and super busy.
I gave myself like a lesser goal, and I did achieve that goal because it was lesser. So,
Right on.
in 2 weeks, I gave myself about what I'd normally do in a couple days. But I went back to New Jersey, as I said, and I went back for a family wedding. And both my wife and I have our family in New Jersey, and most of our friends. I mean, we have new friends out here, but like all our older friends.
Mhm.
So we were there for a little over a week, and every day was jam packed. I didn't get a good night's sleep almost the whole time I was there, and
Mhm.
but I knew there was a plane ride, and I have an iPad Pro and an Apple Pencil. And I had doubts about whether it was worth it because it's very expensive. And it hasn't been for a long time, but over time, it's starting to become worth it because I mostly use it when I go on trips. Very rarely do I use it in the house. Once in a great while. I thought I would sit there and, watch a movie and draw or whatever, but I
Yeah.
rarely ever do that. But every time I go on a trip, I bring it on the plane, I use it in a hotel room. So I feel like in another 6 months or so, considering all the trips I have coming up, I will finally feel like I've got my money's worth out of it.
Cool.
Um, but let me go ahead and screen share while I'm speaking to you, fine peoples. Do, 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 do. Okay, there we are. So we went to New Jersey. Oh, no, that's not doing it. I did this wrong last time too. I'm showing you everything instead of specific things. There we go. Share. There, now we go. Okay,
Oh.
so New Jersey, we went to Quick Stop. I'm from the area Kevin Smith is from. This is the Clerks thing. But Q had a friend in from Pennsylvania that we met up with who had never been there. And he's a big Kevin Smith fan, so we went there. And what's funny is I put some of these up online, just me in front of them and stuff. And people are like, "Can you go in there?" And just so people know, this is a picture of the inside. It is a store. Kevin Smith worked there. It's still operating. It's kind of like a off-brand 7-Eleven. What I found more interesting was right next door. This is RST Video, which is the video store from Clerks that has been closed. Who knows how long? 10 years. I mean, how long's been through? So you could kind of still see the sign, and inside there's still some videos kicking around, which I thought was crazy. That it's like it closed, so it's not open as like a shrine to RST Video, but it's also hasn't nothing else has been put there for so long. I don't know. I thought that was weird. But anyway, from there, now we're going back to the plane. On the plane, some of the things I said I was going to do was work on designs for the 4 kaiju that are in
Oh
the
yeah.
new Godzilla print I'm working on. So this is Megalon. I just did a head study. He's a really hard kaiju to draw. I've drawn him before, but he's got so many weird little details, and every angle is weird. So this was just practice on his head I did on the plane. And then I did Gigan rather, who is another kaiju that's going to be in it. And I kind of did color, and it almost looks like a finished drawing, but if you zoom in, it's kind of a little sloppy. I did both these on the plane with the iPad. Again, sort of getting my money's worth out of it there. What I do is I don't usually pay for Wi-Fi, and even if I do, it's unreliable. So I download a bunch of reference pictures onto my iPad or my phone
Oh,
before I
nice.
get on the plane, so I have reference to look at. And this is Jet Jaguar, who is also in that piece. His body I have pretty down; it's pretty standard, but his head helmet thing is really weird. It's deceptively difficult because it's kind of like a smiling pointy head, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of weird angles and like so. I wanted to do a study before I went and did the print, so I wouldn't be figuring it out on the print, and this helped a lot. And like all of these took a while. Like this probably took me a couple hours to get to, just because I kept redrawing it and redrawing it to get those details exactly right. So those were 3 of the 4 I needed to work on. Then back in New Jersey, that's the Secret Stash, which is in Red Bank, which is Kevin Smith's comic store. And I'm not just posing there. You see, I have my comic in the shop. I had previously had issue
That's
one.
awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty great. The Horror 4 is my book, for those that don't know. It's a kaiju comic. And I had issue one there, and it's been months. And I said, hey, I came in here months ago. Would you be interested in issue two? They said yes. And I've heard a few people, artists, comic artists, sort of say, oh, yeah, the Kevin Smith store, all they want is Spider-Man, and they don't support indie comics, and he's an indie guy. That's not been my experience. I've been there twice. Both times I talked to Mike Zapsig, who's one of the guys from the Comic Book Men show, if you ever see that. Also, they put in a Tusk suit from the movie Tusk, which wasn't there previously. There's a better view of it, which is crazy. It's good they have it so high up, because I can imagine that terrifying some kids.
Oh yeah, it's still terrifying to look up.
Yeah. And here, okay, so here's Mike and the other gentleman that works there, whose name I forget. They were kind enough to pose with a picture, and this was my point. I was in there a few months ago with issue one, and Mike was happy to take it. They take it on consignment. It's not like they give me money, but if they sell it, they give it to me. But it's more to get it in the shop. And then I came in and said, and he said, yeah, absolutely. Number two, sure. Can I take a picture? Absolutely, no problem. So they were very pleasant, helpful, supportive. I don't know who's gone there and had bad experiences, but I've been there twice, and I've been there as a customer a bunch too when I used to live there, and they were always nice to me and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I've just heard a couple vocal minority, but I have nothing but good things to say about the store and the people that work there and them supporting independent comics, as you can see. So
cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was pretty happy, because I was like, maybe if issue one didn't sell so well, they won't bother. But no, again, super cool. A bit down the road is the Comic Crypt, and that's in Shrewsbury. Kevin Smith this is all in New Jersey. Kevin Smith is in Red Bank. The Comic Crypt is down in Shrewsbury, New Jersey. And I also had my issue one there. Now they bought it outright, which is even better, where I sell it for half cover to them. So I don't make a lot of money, but I don't have to worry about collecting. I don't have to worry about keeping track of it. And I have a friend who is friends with them, and she told me they sold out of issue one. So not that I gave them a lot, but they sold out of what they had. So I went back, and there you see issue two. I gave them some more of issue one, and I gave them a little bit of issue two right on the wall next to Hit Girl. Alphabetical order between Immortal and Hit Girl.
Look at that.
Yeah, so they're pretty cool. And if you're in New Jersey, either one of those stores has my book now. So I was pretty happy about that. And I also I don't have a picture of it, but I bought a vintage Sectars figure for $5 that I was happy about.
Nice.
So then this is the fourth kaiju from the print I'm doing, which is Godzilla. I believe it's 1973 version. They talk about how he has like the puppy dog eyes. He's more of the heroic version, which is kind of the version I grew up with. And the print I'm working on is my favorite Godzilla movie as from being a kid. But I've drawn Godzilla a lot, but every era is different, and even every movie is different, because a lot of times they had to remake the entire suit for each movie because they get destroyed and stuff. Actually, we got some chat going on. Juan is saying how I took over all the comics in New Jersey.
Yep.
Yeah, I only hit 3. I wanted to hit more. I wanted to go up to New York and throw some in there too, because I've done that before. But again, there's a lot of family stuff going on, so I didn't have a lot of time. I had to squeeze. The 2 shops I just showed you were while we were hanging out with Q's college friend. Like, oh, by the way, can we stop at these comic stores? So again, multitasking.
Yeah. Get it done.
But anyway, so I was working on just getting the patterns of this Godzilla. Now this one's a little less finished, but I was just trying to figure out the planes of the way the suit hangs. It's a weird thing to draw. The way I draw the Godzillas, I don't want it to look like I want it to look like the suit. You know what I mean? I want it to look like the Godzilla suit, not like my version of what I think Godzilla should be. So I end up doing a lot of studying for them before I get into the finals. And then a few days later, I went up to Nutley, New Jersey, which is up north, to Comic Explosion, and I got my book in there. This for a while I used to live in Rutherford, which was near Nutley, and this was my local shop. And he did not have issue 1, so he got issue 1 and issue 2, which both became pick of the week somehow.
Nice.
And there's a picture. That's actually not where they're gonna go, because it was new comic. It was Tuesday night, so he was getting everything settled. So I just threw him on the wall to take a picture to throw on Instagram. So this is fake. This is totally fake. I mean, they are gonna be in the store, but. And then this is me. That's Scott, the owner, and that's my buddy Sherb, who actually did the lettering on the 2nd issue and is working on the lettering for the 3rd issue.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
cool.
And then this is a headshot of the horror I did, which wasn't on my list, but I had a little bit of time at my in-laws' house, and I just felt like working on the horror, so I just did a quick headshot. Well, I say quick, but I do everything slow. This is probably an hour or 2 because I'm such a slow man. Was not on my list, but I felt like, yeah. What was on my list was to finish the page I was working on of issue 3, but I didn't bring those files with me, so this was sort of my compromise of like, I got to work on the horror. And then on the plane ride home, I did Boots, who's the main human protagonist, and it's a little bit of a different style. I mean, it's still the way I normally draw, but I played around with the color, and I just,
Yeah.
that was the plane ride home, which again wasn't on my list, but I felt good about because it was, working on my comic, quote unquote. What's next? Oh, now I'm home, and I worked on Megalon a little bit more. He was the one I showed you in the beginning that I just did the headshot, but
Yeah.
I'm doing a back shot of him in the print. So I wanted to look at his weird wings and flaps and the side back angle of his head and his claw things or drills or whatever you want to call them. They're really hard to draw. I drew them all these
They look
times, and I feel like I
complicated.
still don't understand it because
Huh.
I thought it was like a cone, like a drill,
Mhm.
but it's not. It's flat on one side. Like if you look at this one that says back, like this is the inside and it's completely flat and the other side isn't, but it kind of dips up and down and it starts to curl around. I barely understand. I got to work on that some more, but it was shockingly difficult. I wish I had an action figure of him because I feel like if I saw it in 3D, it'd be a lot easier to understand.
Oh yeah.
So that was like yesterday I did that, I think. And then here we are, yesterday and today I worked on the page that I said I had to finish as one of my goals. I wasn't sure I'd be able to get it done, but I did. This is where we were when we left off, panel 3 being worked on but not finished. So then yesterday I finished panel 3 and finished
Cool.
panel 4. Now, again, these are, for those that don't know, these are what I consider pencils. I still have to go over them and ink them. It's all digital, but there's another, layer after this. And then today I finished the last panel. And I also, if you notice, I altered the 4th panel
Mhm.
because when I put in the print safety, I wanted him crashing up against the edge of the page, but it would be cut off kind of near his head. So I moved it up so that he'll still probably be crashing at the end of the edge of the page, but like a quarter of an inch or so is not safe on the side here. So I moved that over. And then
Cool.
I finished that last panel. And this was, a couple hours ago I finished this. uh,
Squeezing it in.
yeah, and I thought I was done and I started doing other things around the house and then I realized, well, let me get ready for the show and everything, and I looked and I was supposed to also do some design practice for the White Ranger's Tiger Zord print because I have a Power Ranger convention coming up. Completely forgot about it. So like that was a few hours ago. This was like an hour ago.
Mm.
I did the White Ranger Tiger Zord in the robot mode, and I just did a cleanup, and then I threw in some colors. That the head is kind of weird. If you don't do it right, it looks really derpy. Like you can see that first drawing was
Mhm.
almost getting derpy. And
You underped it.
I underped it, and then I did a full body shot, just kind of quickly to get the basic details
Oh,
down.
nice.
And I cheated a little bit because I copied and pasted the leg and the arm, so I didn't have to redraw them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. And then I threw some color on that too. So I did those real quick. Because the next print I'm going to do after the 4 kaiju is going to be the White Ranger print. And I think, that's it. I accomplished everything I set out to, plus a little bit more. But again, I went easy on myself. So I'm not patting myself on the back too much.
Mhm.
But this weekend, I'm leaving Thursday morning actually to go to Chicago uh, for Godzilla Fest, G Fest, and this is just the artist alley. I'll be at table 9, along with many luminaries of the Godzilla fan base that are much higher up on the echelon, and others that are much lower on the echelon than I am. So if you're in the area, you could check that out and come say hello. And that's kind of it. Although, yeah, I think that's it. As far as I accomplished everything I set out to accomplish. The hardships were just that I was not home and I was dealing with family and stuff, but really the iPad is what made me able to accomplish most of it, and the rest was just quick doing it, the one day I had or 2 days I had when I was back.
Yeah, awesome. And did you finish the that other 4 character print that you were working on?
No, that was an optional one, and actually that's the 4 characters right there. That's a reference that just came up.
Oh, nice.
So you can see that. Let me stop screen sharing here. Yeah, no, that was an optional, which I didn't do. The 4 designs, studies, if you will, were for that print,
Okay.
and I instead, yeah, I just didn't. But I kind of knew I wouldn't, so I'm not stressed about that too much.
Yeah. Right on, man. It looks like you got quite a bit done, even though you were pressed for time and it was in awkward situations. You
Yeah,
managed to get it done.
yeah,
The iPad has got to be a godsend for
it
situations
is.
like that.
If I didn't have it, I wouldn't have got. But here's the thing: it allowed me to get all those like designs and studies and stuff, but it's not so great for finished work. I've done it,
Mm,
but if I had to have like the print done with the
mhm.
iPad, I wouldn't. I've inked like 1 or 2 pages on the iPad,
Yeah.
and it's hard and it takes like twice as long, and I'm already slow. So the
Yeah.
iPad is great for sketching, studies, all the stuff you just looked at. But if it needs to have like good ink lines, I don't love it.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to kind of compare it to, compare it to using a sketchbook, and maybe that's better than just a sketchbook, because I'll take my sketchbook everywhere, but if I'm trying to work on something, I never feel like I could take what I've done there and do anything with it afterwards. It's like, and so I kind of don't even try as much, I suppose, too.
Well, I guess it is like a sketchbook in that way, but the
Okay.
difference is I could take those files and bring them into Photoshop and then just take that as a layer and, like, you know, lower the opacity and ink on top of it. So there are some things that I knew needed to get like finished, and I would just do step 1, 2, and 3, knowing that step 4 I wanted to wait till I got home. So
that's pretty good. So you could use it for like roughs, or like what you would consider like pencils, maybe.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Hey,
Mainly,
that's like 2 steps that you can do on the go.
oh yeah, like I said, you're right that if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to accomplish my goals. I just wanted to put in the caveat that depending on what your goals are, you might not be able to achieve them with the iPad, or maybe you can. Maybe others get better results than me. I just don't like the inking results.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome, man. Really cool stuff. That's awesome that you got it in so many shops too. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And I remember when you were doing issue 1, you were trying to do that, and I don't know if do you think it was a little harder for issue 1 compared to issue 2? Because issue 2, it seems like you went on a trip and it was like boom, 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 every shop. Like, yes.
It was easier for issue 2. I don't know that it was easier because it was the second issue, or the fact that 2 of the shops I had already had my book in there. So it wasn't like I had to explain who I was and what was going on. They're like, oh yeah, we had issue 1. Sure. We'll take, you know, so it was more that I had, for lack of a better term, a relationship, you know? And so, you know, I imagine issue 3 will also be easy, but not because it was issue 2, 3, 4. I think that might pay off more at conventions with like the general public. But with the other shop, I hadn't had issue 1 in there, so they took 1 and 2. But again, I had a pre-existing relationship with the owner. We're kind of buddies and stuff. So I did have it. I'm trying to think if I had any more stores in New Jersey. I had it in a lot of stores here in California for the first issue that I didn't bother doing the second issue for, because some of them, even if they might take it, like I didn't like the way they handled the first issue, where like they had it on consignment and it was there for a few months, and I went to check on it and like they hadn't sold, which is fine, but they were like, the spine was all busted up because they, like, I don't know what they did to them. And like, you know, other one, I had to go digging for them because they had put them in a box somewhere, and not even like a 50-cent bin, but just like somewhere, you know. So the stores that did that, I was like, well, there's no point in putting them back in these stores, you know. So it is easier to get in with a second issue, maybe because it's a second issue, maybe because I have the relationship, but I'm also only going back to stores that I was happy with the first time around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Didn't you wasn't there even a one shop that took your book out and put it in a different board and bag than you gave them? I remembered that.
Yes, and I don't
bizarre.
Yeah, that was one of the ones where the spine was all messed up, because I gave it to them in a bag and a board with like a free sticker, and they had taken it out and put it just in a bag with no board, and then because of that, it got all crunched up on the side, and it's like, so they gave it back to me, but I'm like, well, I can't sell this now, you know, or not for full price anyway. So that was weird. And that was a shop I remember, like I don't expect shops to be like, yay, oh my God, I'm so happy. But they were kind of like, I guess. And it's like, I mean, take it or don't, but like, you know, like, yeah. So I don't need people to tell me I'm great, but I want them to at least be like professional, you know, like if you're going to take it, treat it with respect, and, you know, there you go. But so I had put it in, I want to say like 8 shops in this area, the first issue, and the second issue, it's like half that, because I just went to the ones that I thought were worth putting it in. And actually I had put the book in several shops in Chicago 2 years ago. 2 years ago? Yeah, about 2 years ago. Wow, God, that's depressing. That's how long ago issue 1 came out. Yeah, I know, but I could depress myself because it was like, and then a year or so later, issue 2 came out, and issue 3 is still not out. Comics take a while.
Not that bad. Some people are worse.
Some people are worse, sure, but I'm comparing myself to myself. And but I put it in a bunch of shops in Chicago, and again, some bought it outright, some took it on commission, some were easy to get in, some were not. I don't know if I'll have time to revisit those when I come back out for G-Fest. I'll bring copies of issue 2 with me because I'm doing the show, obviously. Maybe I'll revisit some of them, but again, not all of them. But what's interesting is one of the shops just recently, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name. It's a famous comic shop in Chicago. No. Nope. And they've got 2 shops too. But anyway, I had put some in there on consignment, and very recently, like a month ago, I got an email from them like, hey, we sold one of your books or 2 of your books or whatever, and then we have like 3 left or something. So we've had them long enough. We want to send them back to you. Otherwise, blah, 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 blah. So basically the money I made from the 1 or 2 I sold, because I had to pay shipping, and that's why I don't follow up on a lot of these consignment ones in another state, because like, oh, the money's gone. But they followed up with me, and so I said, well, keep the money for shipping and send them back to me, and they did. And I was impressed. They followed up with me, and they sent them back to me packaged amazingly, as though I had bought like a signed comic from somebody. Like, so it was like I got 3 of my issues back that I could now resell, unlike the other stores that
That's
just
cool.
put them into a ball and threw them away.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, right
So-
on. So
now you still have hand issues. Well, actually, before we get into what we're gonna try to accomplish for next time, we're not going to be able to do it next Tuesday because I will be
you're gonna be
in
gone, right?
Chicago or on a
Okay.
plane. But here's the thing: I'm going to be in Chicago for G Fest, and then I'm going to get back for like a day, and then I'm going to San Diego for Comic Con.
Oh, geez.
So yeah. So let me. I should have done this when we were not streaming live, but let me see here
It's
real
fine.
quick. For next week, Tuesday. Yeah, I will be flying in Tuesday, and then I will be here Wednesday, and then I'm flying out Thursday. So I have one day where I'm not flying, which is Wednesday. So if you want to do the show next week, 4 o'clock, we
Okay.
could do it Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. If that
Okay.
works for you, because I know you might want like a buffer between.
I would, but I don't want to lose momentum on the show. I don't want to start
Okay.
skipping weeks. And I'll have a lot to talk about after G Fest, I'm sure. And then I'll have a
Sure.
lot to talk about after San Diego. And if I don't want to have to do them both in one show.
Yeah.
So
All right. Good plan. Let's do
Okay.
Wednesday then.
So next
Same
week will be
time?
Wednesday. Same time, yeah, Wednesday. But since we are doing a show on Wednesday, then that means we should come up with some goals for the next week, which again, unfortunately, will probably be on the light side because your hand is still not working, and I
Right.
will once again be out of the state.
Yeah.
So, have you
Kind of
given
a
any
repeat.
thought? Yeah, have you given any thought to goals, or would you like me to go first?
You could go first.
Okay. I gave it a little thought. Again, in the next week, I will be on a plane 2 of those days. I will be doing G Fest 3 of those days, and I'm staying with a friend while I'm out there, and he's probably going to want to, spend some time with me since I haven't seen him in 2 years. And I also might meet this other guy for dinner at one point. He's the guy he used to do Space
Yeah.
Cat, now he does Sisyphean
I think I
Complex.
heard who. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So he wears a hat and yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy Jojo Magoops.
Jimmy Jojo Magoops, that's
yeah,
right. But he goes by
yeah.
Mike Emirates online. But yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah, that's right.
so anyway, between work commitments and social commitments in the plane, I will literally have very little time. And then I said the one day in between, we'll be doing the show. So
Mhm.
I'm going to give myself some very modest goals. And my modest goals are thus. I'm not going to be able to do any. I would like to say I'd work on finished stuff for the 4 Kaiju print, but as I said, with the iPad, finished stuff is hard. So instead, I'm going to try to get some roughs done on the White Ranger print, the one that I showed you, the Tiger Zord. So I'll try to do some roughs, maybe get to pencils, but get significant work done on that print.
Cool.
The other thing, I'm being real easy on myself, but I'm going to say 1 hour of pencils on page 5. Maybe I could do more. I'll try to do more, but if I get at least 1 hour pencils, forward motion. And then the other thing is not drawing related, but I'm going to be filming while I'm at G Fest, and I want to edit and post the G Fest video because again, I'm going to immediately go to San Diego, and I don't want to get a backlog of things I have to do. So in between those 2 shows, I want to put the video out for the first show. So I'm
Cool.
being a little easy on myself, but realistically, I might have less than a day to really work on this stuff.
Cool. That sounds pretty doable, though. That's not too bad, but
No.
we'll see.
I think it's doable, and it's just a matter of if I do the minimum or not. Because like I could get away with like, okay, I did what I said, or I could do more if I have time. So that's yeah.
Cool.
How about you? Do you have any anything you think you could give yourself to do with the busted up paw?
Yeah. I do want to try to start working back into art. Like I was telling you, previously, I have been working in my sketchbook as much as I can, but it seems that I have very short spurts before my hand starts to hurt. But I want to try to start exercising it. Something I need to get drawing again. I just have to, whether it hurts or not. It's driving me up the wall. So this week, I just want to try to make a point to get back to drawing,
Right.
one thing I'll do that isn't related to creativity kind of stuff is maybe incorporating some of that narration that I was just talking about earlier into the script that I have now. And while I'm at it, I can maybe try to retool some of those thumbnails, because that's not a whole lot of intensive drawing. I don't have to get super accurate or detailed or anything. I can work really loose and hopefully make some progress on that front, because my thumbnails aren't all complete for that first issue. There's whole pages that are like, I know what I want there. I've written in, like, she runs down the hall or whatever. And in my mind, I know what it's supposed to be, but I don't have anything yet. So I could try that. That's kind of, I'm going to kind of leave it at that for like my big goals is those two things, because I'm going to be super busy this week as well. Yeah, well, my friend from, two of my friends from California are actually in town, or one is already, one's about to be.
Am I one?
So you are one.
I wish I could just fly through the ceiling
and then show up here.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. So I don't know when, how that's going to all play out. I know we were going to try to do dinner on like a weekend or something like that. So that'll probably be that. Tomorrow, I'm pretty much going to be gone all day, and I may be gone on Thursday as well. I don't know. Tomorrow is like a big friend get together. The one friend I've known since I was like in preschool, and we've got a lot of the same friends from over the years. So whenever he comes back, we do like a big game night with everybody and his family, and it's absolute madness and fun.
Like preschool games like tic-tac-toe and finger paint and stuff like
that. Pretty close, actually. No, but it should be a lot of fun, but it's also going to be pretty draining as well. I'm definitely not getting any work done when I come home that night. And then he might actually even be spending that night or something, and then starting it all up again the next day. I don't know. So I'm going to be very limited on my time is pretty much what I'm getting.
Gotcha. Well, but, you should bring your sketchbook whatever day we get together, because if you're doodling in your sketchbook with me, I won't care and I won't make a big deal of it.
There you go. Maybe I will. And then if I really want to go above and beyond, I seriously want to learn watercolors. This is something that's also bugging me. I was really gung-ho. I got my brushes and my paper and all that, and I just haven't done it since. So I want to get into that. I want to at least start doing that too. Maybe that's sort of my in to getting back into art, because right now my drawings all just suck because I have to hold my hand in a way that I'm not used to holding it, and it's weird. And
we had talked about this before too, of that you could practice just like gradients, and
exactly.
You don't have to actually be painting anything representational.
Yep. So, I need to do something creative. I have to. So those are like my top 3 things. Every week I try to put out one of my printing videos, but that just hasn't been the case because for whatever reason, when I record these things, I've got more footage than I could possibly use. So it is taking longer. So I'm not going to say that I'm going to have a video out this week, but that's kind of a given that I'm always working on those. So I will do some extra work on that. Sure. And that's about it. I think that's about all I am going to put on my plate. If I do more than that, great. If not, well, we'll see. But I'm going to hope for the best.
All right. Well, you hope for the best and plan for the worst, and Boy Scout salute and whatever else. We're nearing the end of the show, and I wanted to open up to questions. We got a few people in the chat. Yeah. If you have any questions, throw them in. Hello to you newcomers, like I'd rather be drawing. Juan Espinoza has already given us a question.
Yes.
Leading the charge. And Juan is also a comic book creator, but is curious, how do you guys work on comic books? I mean, do you first write the dialogue and then do the panels? Or vice versa? That's probably not how he said it. That's just my interpretation.
That was a good interpretation. Sure, it's at least 20% accurate.
Sure. Well, you want to tackle that one first?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. If you're talking about like from inception, I guess it usually starts with working in my sketchbook. I'll come up with some little characters or an idea or something that I want to pursue. It's usually a little drawing, and that little drawing either usually makes me laugh or it's like, it's intriguing in some way. And from there, I just start to develop visuals. I'm a very visual person, so I try to come up with interesting things that I think relate to each other visually, and then from there, I write to try to figure out how they fit together. And oftentimes, I'll just break down like a very basic kind of skeleton of structure, you know, like if this, then that, the end kind of thing, and I plug some stuff in very loosely, and then I have something close to some kind of breakdown and get weird and start putting post-it notes everywhere and fall into a.
I thought you meant breakdown, like you're breaking down the story, but you mean
No.
you're like
Exactly. Yes. Yep. And then I start thumbnails, and then I hate my every decision that I've ever made.
Yeah, your entire life. Yep, sure.
Yeah. And then 5 years later. But no, seriously, that is pretty much my process. And all joking aside, that is actually probably closer to the truth than I'd care to admit.
Right.
But how about you? How do you do comics?
Well, I've done it that way. Maybe not exactly that way, but that sort of chaotic drawing, and like I've done it a million different ways, unsuccessfully. The most successful way I've had is the way I'm doing it right now in the Horror 4. It's successful, not in that I'm writing the best book I've ever written or drawing the best comic I've ever written, but I'm accomplishing it. It's getting done, and so I credit that to the process that I've been doing, which starts with an idea, maybe a rough character sketch, and I kind of came up with the end of the story because mine is a finite story, not all are. But then I said, how do I get to the end? And I used like digital note cards, kind of like what you're saying, like here's a paragraph, here's a scene, here's this, and kind of assembled them into like an old school outline, like you used to do in school, like heading 1, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, heading 2, A, you know. And then I took that, and once I was happy with the general timeline of events, I literally took that outline and would take A and say, okay, this is going to be like 3 pages, and then wrote those 3 pages, and then took B and said, this will be 2 pages. And mostly did the actions and then went back in and tweaked the dialogue after. Like I would do, like you said, like I would get all the actions down and have like, oh, and Boots says something like, you guys are jerks. But I'd literally say, Boots says something like, you guys are jerks. And so it's timeline, actions in the timeline, dialogue last. But when I'm done, I have a full written script, which is not actually, let me share my screen, which is not, I'm not using Final Draft or anything. I'm just using like a notepad app. Like I'll show you, this is the script for issue 3 I'm working on. So you can see it's like page 2, panel 1, page 3, panel 1, 2, 3, you know, and then dialogue and stuff like that. So I don't know, it would be good to give to another artist, but it makes sense to me. And then I take that and I do thumbnails, which I'll show you here, which can be more or less detailed. Sometimes I'll put in the word balloons, like on this one, because early on, and I still struggled with this, but I had problems with not leaving enough room for the dialogue. Or I would be like, oh, a balloon goes about here, but I'd have like 17 sentences that would never fit. So that's something I struggle with. And even though I work with a letterer, I'm trying to make sure I leave room for the letterer. So they'll do their own balloons how they want, but that's for mine. I'll send them that for, you know, reference if they want to use it, but it's more just for my edification. And you can see like this thumbnail, you can barely tell what's going on. And then this one has a little bit of sound effects and dialogue. And then as you go further into the book, like here, this has a lot of dialogue. So I'm mapping out where it goes, and this might get revised, but like you can see it's very dialogue heavy. And then some of the pages towards the end, like get real detailed where it's like almost finished pencils at this point. And that I tend to do that for some reason. But as I get towards the end of the book, these are thumbnails. These are roughs, but it's like almost done, you know?
Yeah.
But really what they should be is more like what you saw in the beginning. And so once I have these, I take these to the next stage, which would be then, you know, what I consider digital pencils, which is like what I was showing you guys before. Actually, I'll open it up just to be more specific. So there's page 3. That's the thumbnail rough, and that's the digital pencil. So you can see it's still, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels and the basic action, but nobody but me would ever know what that means. But there it is. That's what it meant, you know?
Yeah.
And you can see like the halfway, you know, that's when it was like half done. So yeah, it starts with an outline, then a full script, then drawing it and kind of keeping in mind the lettering, and the lettering in the panel always goes last. It could go over the rough pencils. Usually I put it over the inks, but definitely in one of the later phases.
That was a much better answer. And actually,
Well, I had visual aids, so
the second half of that, where I kind of like was just being goofy, like you definitely, we work in a very similar way, very
oh,
similar actually.
okay.
So yeah,
So
that
so I guess if I wanted to have more of like a Mike Emmerich style book, I would do the same thing, but be like, panels.
exactly would be perfect. I think the only thing that I actually do differently is I work in beats before I have the script. So I'll literally have like a long list of beat by beat by beat. This happens, this happens, this happens, this happens.
Right.
And then I kind of look at that as a whole of like, this is everything I want to accomplish in my story. And this is like the count, and then I do math. I divide that by how many pages it's supposed to be. And then that gives me a rough idea of like, well, if you want to do that, it's going to take this many panels. And from there, I kind of start to edit and figure out, well, that's got to go, that's got to go, that's got to go. Or like Julie Jupiter, just throw it all in and 15 panels a page. And but yeah.
One thing you reminded me about beats, this changed because my book is now 5 issues and it's like close to 150 pages. But originally, I thought it was going to be a 40-page story, and it's a giant kaiju monster book. And I love monster movies, Godzilla movies, but I hate when the monster doesn't show up forever. Like the American Legendary Godzilla, I enjoyed, but I thought it was too much people, not enough monster, and the people weren't that interesting. So my book, I want the people to be interesting, but I don't want it to go too long without the monster showing up. So I had originally, well, it's 40 pages. I can't go more than 10 pages without having a monster battle or a show up or something. Now that got changed as it got elongated, but I think generally speaking, in every issue of its 5 issues, I have the monster show up at least twice. It might be a full battle. It might just be rumbling by in the background. But I was like, I don't want to have an issue of the book that people are like, where's the monster? So that is something else I had in mind specifically for this book. It obviously wouldn't apply to all books, but maybe if it's a surfing book, well, they got to get out on the beach at least once an issue, something like that. Yeah. So just keeping in mind the genre and the point of your book, no matter how much I love drawing people talking, sitting down, which is my absolute favorite thing to draw, which is weird considering I'm doing a monster book. I got to remember it's a monster book. Put the monster in it every, 10 or so pages to make sure people know.
Right on. Let's see. Well, we've got a question definitely for you from I'd Rather Be Drawing. If one wanted to become educated on Godzilla movies, would you recommend just starting with the first movie?
Absolutely. The first movie is one of, if not the best. Doesn't mean you have to watch them all in order, but the first Godzilla movie from 1954, I would argue, is actually a good movie. It's like a film. Many of the others vary in quality wildly, from campy to action movie to crazy sci-fi to stupid good. But like the original movie, it's old, it's black and white, it's a little bit slow paced, but it's like watching The Seven Samurai or Rose. It's like Citizen Kane or something. It's a product of its time, and maybe I'm overhyping it a little bit, but it's a serious movie. It's like a commentary on the atom bomb and everything. So it's and weirdly, that suit of Godzilla, being probably that it's in black and white, it was treated more like Jaws or the original Alien, where you see it less and it's in shadow, so it looks better than some of the later suits. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would say absolutely watch that movie. If you only watch one Godzilla movie, watch that movie. After that, it's a lot harder because the tone and everything varies wildly. I would say there's different eras, like there's the Showa, the Heisei, the modern. These are just like time periods. And so maybe sample one from each period to see what you like. The Showa are the older, like the 60s, and they're a little bit more campy. Godzilla's a little bit more of a hero. The Heisei is the 90s, and it's a little bit more action movie, over the top, if Michael Bay did them. Although I say that, although I do like those, And then there's the modern era, which they had less of, which are a little bit more like quote unquote serious. And then there's the new Shin Godzilla, which I don't recommend a first-time Godzilla fan watching Shin Godzilla because it's bonkers, and like you don't start there. You gotta go through all the other Godzillas to even maybe like it, because half the people don't even like it. So yeah, first Godzilla, and if I would recommend a Showa one, I would say versus the Smog Monster versus Hedorah is one of my favorites. Or if you want something campy, versus Megalon, that's the one that has 4 kaiju total mixed up in it. That was my favorite as a kid. It's really campy, really cartoony. And then for the Heisei stuff, versus Biollante is one of my favorites. But really start at the beginning and maybe pick one from each era is what I would say.
Cool. I'm going to take that advice and watch the first Godzilla movie, I think. Got me excited.
Okay. I think we got a few questions.
We do.
Well, first there's a response. Well, we'll go in order. Yada Smelkins said, "What news and/or exclusives are you most excited for from San Diego Comic Con? Anyway, well, you're not going to Comic Con, so is there any news that you're excited about or exclusives that you're excited about?
I am extremely excited about that Funko Pop Ram Man exclusive. That is like I hate Funko Pops. I'll go on the record.
Oh.
I'm not a fan of them. I don't know. It's not. I don't hate the people who like them. It's not that deep, but I don't care for them.
That would be a bit much.
Yeah, that would be a little bit crazy. But I saw this and I was like, oh my god, I have to have it. Like something about it just fits Ram Man. I don't know. So I'm really excited about that. And also the that weird He-Man that they released too. The what is it? The Happy He-Man, I think
they call it Laughing Adam.
Laughing Adam from that meme from like 10 years ago. Right. From that looks really cool. I would want to get them both, but I can't afford to get them both, but I really hope to get that Ram Man.
Well, hopefully you have a buddy that's gonna, pick it up for you.
I hope so. We'll see. I may have an inside man on the job.
Yeah, I think the Ram Man, the Funko Pops, if they're not at the Funko booth, they're easier to get, and I believe that's not. I had that up before. This is the Laughing Adam he's talking about, which is based on the hi-ya meme. And I'm actually gonna get this for myself, not even for the meme. I mean, I know the meme and it's funny, but I collect He-Man figures, and I don't have a Prince Adam figure, and I actually prefer this because I feel like at the end of every episode it'd be like, oh, Orko, yeah. So like I kind of want to put him with his hands on his hips going like to me that's what he should look like,
That's awesome. You could even swap his head out onto the other He-Man possibly.
Yeah, I'll have Laughing He-Man. That's true.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's really the only thing that I'm even aware of that's exclusive as SDCC or any announcements or anything like that.
Right. I will be getting the Prince Adam. I will be getting the Pop, but for you, obviously. I have a few things I need to pick up for my wife. She's a big Dragon Ball Z fan, so I'm going to pick up some of the Dragon Ball Z exclusives they have. Cool. I'm sure there are panels and creators I want to see, but I've been so busy I haven't had time to look. I'll probably look at that on the plane. As far as exclusives for me, the one I wanted most, I've already got. The Nika is doing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set from the original movie.
I saw that. That looks awesome.
And I originally was not going to be going to the convention this year, but a friend of mine is up for an award and he wanted me to go with him. So cool. There we go. I'm going now I'm going. But before I did, let me see if I can pull it up. Oh, here it is. So this is the set of 4. And they're, I think, 6 or 7 inches. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Nope. That probably help, huh? This is the set of 4. And awesome. They had a small window where you could order them online. And I did that, and it's going to be shipped to my house. So I don't have to worry about getting it there. And I went whole hog. I'm trying to see if I can find it. There's one. And yeah, the box looks like the old VHS. You can see how big they are.
What? Yeah. I didn't know that.
And see this display right here? I got it with this. So it's a diorama with, see if I get another picture. How big it is with the turtles. And I have a bunch of turtle figures. So this is going to be like the area for all my turtles, not just that. But that's something different. But that is definitely the thing I would have most wanted to get. And I've already got that locked down. So that's made me happy. The other things that I would be looking for is mostly Power Ranger stuff. They have a Psycho Green Ranger figure I want to try to get, and a Zeonizer like prop, from Zeo for the Gold Ranger. And then there's a few Star Wars things that maybe I'd like to get, whatever. But like, really, I'm going into it in a weird way because I've gone every year for like the last 10 years or so as a fan, not selling. I thought I would sell this year, but I wasn't able to get a table. Try again next year. So I wasn't going at all. So I'm going for less days than I usually go. I'm going needing less exclusives than I usually need. I'm going by myself, which I've never done. I mean, I'm going to meet my friend when I get there, but I've never actually gone down by myself. And at least one of the nights I'm going to be at like an awards dinner, because I'm his +1. Yeah. So it's going to be a very different experience than I've had before. So I'm kind of well, I always look forward to it, but I'm looking forward to it not just in a hey, this will be fun, but like this is going to be different. This is going to be
Yeah.
different than the experience I've had the last couple of years.
That's cool though. That'll be really neat to go to the awards dinner. Have
Yeah,
you ever
yeah.
been to anything like that before?
Well, I thought I had because I used to go to SPX on the East Coast, which is independent comic thing, and
Okay.
it's an Eisner Award is what he's up for, and I've literally been to the
Wow.
Eisner Awards or the Inkpot Awards or whatever at SPX, but it was just like any other panel where it's a room in a hotel and a bunch of people on folding chairs, and yeah, there might be some kind of famous artist, but it's very casual, and I thought that's what this would be. But a friend of mine that works at a comic store, I was telling him, oh, it turns out I'm going. He's like, oh, I went to that a couple of years ago. It's crazy. It's like the Oscars. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we went in because his shop, the shop he works for, was nominated, and so he's not the owner, but he went there to represent the shop, and it was him and his son, and they had on their Marvel shirts and their bags full of stuff they bought. And they weren't letting him in. And like, well, we're supposed to be in there. And eventually they're like, oh wait, are you guys nominated? Like, yeah, oh, get in there, get in there. They weren't letting him in because they thought they just wanted to go to the audience because everybody else besides them was wearing like button-down shirts and ties and gowns, and they were being served free complimentary meals and liquor, and like he's like, it was nuts. It was cool, but I'm so glad you told me because I'd be the idiot wearing a t-shirt with my bag of toys. Yeah. So I'm gonna actually bring something halfway decent, and yeah, so
Cool.
that's I have not been to something like that before.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
In the chat, we have our own Mr. Peter Palmiotti has joined us.
Hey-o. There was
That's
someone
what
else
I
came
said.
in too. I missed them. James GSR, also hello.
Oh, hey, what's up, man?
Okay, we're at about an hour, so let's see if there's any more commercials. Commercials. Let's see if
Commercials.
there's any more
And now for a
commercials.
commercial break.
Hi,
Brought to
do you
you
like
by
gum? Do you like
Aquafina.
tattoos?
Yeah,
Oh, we went opposite ways.
we really did. Oh, well. You could get
Uh,
a tattoo while drinking your Aquafina.
There you go.
Help support the channel.
Juan Espinosa was following up on the questions about the comic. Got it. I was just wondering to get a different view. He usually starts with the script or plot of the story, then the dialogue follows, and then actually describe it all. So not terribly different, slightly
Yeah,
different.
pretty similar.
Panels for the artist to draw it. Since I am just the writer, thanks for the feedback. You're not just the writer, you are the writer, but I understand what you're saying. I'd rather be drawing commenting on my Godzilla stuff. How you feel about the first Godzilla movie, I think, is how I feel about the first Zatoichi movie, and I don't know what Zatoichi is. Maybe you can elaborate. Do you know?
I don't know.
I'm not sure if that is the name of a director or the name of a series, but I'm now interested. Okay, did we have and now commercials? All right, so I think actually, did we hit all the questions? I think so.
I think we did. Yeah.
Okay. Well, unless anybody has any last minute questions, comments, or whatever, we're going to be wrapping it up. And Yada Smelkin's in under the wire. Are there any anime or animated series movies for fans of Godzilla? There are. I don't recommend any of them. There was a really old one back in the 70s that had Godzuki, which was like this little baby Godzilla that flew.
Yeah.
I mean, it has sentimental value if you watched it as a kid, or if you want to like laugh at it Mystery Science Theater style, but I don't think it's a quality product.
I think Mystery Science Theater even did one with Godzuki.
I wouldn't doubt it because it's not great. Then there was one for the 90s American, what they call Gino, Godzilla in Name Only, Matthew Broderick one. I remember seeing like half an episode when it was on. From what I hear, it's better than the live action movie. I think it was animated by the same studio that did the Men in Black cartoon, so it might look okay. I can't recommend it because I haven't seen it that much, but I'm also just not a fan of that version of Godzilla. So even if the cartoon is good, how good can it be? But again, that's being said that I haven't really watched much of it. There is currently an anime. It's like a half CGI, but it's skinned so that it looks like not as CGI, called Godzilla Monster Planet that is on Netflix right now. And there's a follow-up that'll be coming out soon. I've watched about half of it. I don't like it at all. Other people might, but it starts like in a future alternate Earth, and you see Godzilla kind of for a second in the distance, and then we get an hour of people on a spaceship complaining about resources and politics and what are we going to do. Then finally they turn around and come back to Earth, and Earth is crazy, and oh, now they're going to fight Godzilla. But it took them an hour to get back to where the movie started, so I don't recommend it. Maybe there's a cool battle at the end, but you know what? Like I said, I'm only halfway through it, and I would say skip half the movie. So You know.
I remember, is there a cartoon from maybe the early 90s that was like Godzilla and Godzuki? I kind of remember watching something like that as a kid.
You,
It was sort of like Johnny Quest or something.
that's the one. That's what I was saying. I think it's from the 60s or 70s.
Oh, so maybe it was just
They may have
re-airing.
rebroadcast it. Yeah, but there definitely were human characters that were like friends with Godzuki.
Right,
And
yeah.
it'd mostly be about them. And then, we need Godzilla. And then Godzilla would, and yeah, that one has, like I said, has sort of a hokey, goofy charm to it, but I can't say it's good, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I saw it when I was a kid and it was like early morning before school, so I don't really remember much.
It was, yeah, I'm 99.9% sure it was reruns of the old ones.
Okay.
And probably because there was the movie in the 90s, so they probably brought it back because of that.
Oh, that makes sense.
Let's see.
The Puff Daddy Led Zeppelin mix soundtrack.
Whatever you say, man. The Blind Swordsman is the Zatoichi movie they were discussing before. So that might be worth checking out for you or I. Maybe if I could download it, maybe I'll watch it on the plane.
Cool.
Cool. So I think that's it for questions. Thank you everybody for watching in the chat. Thank you for participating. Thank you for watching live. Thank you for watching on YouTube after the fact. We accept questions and comments below, even when it's not live. Look, type it right now. It feels like you're talking to me. You're not. I'm from the past. Okay. I tricked them. Let's get out of here quick.
Quick. Jeez.
All right. So why don't you tell us who you are, what you do, where you be?
I am. Oh man, I wish I could remember that fake name that I gave earlier. But I'm Mike Emirates. Yeah, something like that. Jimmy Scoots. Whatever.
It makes me think of a dog, like scooting
does,
butt.
yeah.
Jimmy
That's not me. I don't want to be known for that.
How you doing? I'm Jimmy Scoots. Oh, look at me! I gotta do my scoot.
It ain't for you again. I keep trying to kick that guy out of here. We're losing customers, Jimmy. I'm Mike Emirates, and I don't scoot, nor will I scoot anywhere ever. I make art and occasionally comics over long periods of time, and you can find me on YouTube and Instagram and Facebooks and all of those wonderful things. So that's me.
Okay.
How about you, my friend? Who are you, and where do you hail from, and do you scoot?
I scoot when necessary, and sometimes when not. They tell me I'm Gazbot. I hail from wherever I am and need a cab, an Uber, or a Lyft. Originally from New Jersey, now I'm in California, but online and everywhere is Gazbot. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, I'll be there. I look at toys, I look at cats. I'll show them to you sometimes. But this weekend, I'll be at G-Fest, which is Godzilla Fest in Chicago, Illinois. If you're there, you come to the table. Give me the code word. What's the code word? I don't know. Make one up because I'm not going to remember it. I'll say it's Snibble Dip right now, and you'll be like, Snibble Dip. And I'm like, I guess, So whatever code word you like, and I'll give you a free pin. How about that? They normally cost $1.
Oh,
All right. I love your babies.